Yeah, but it'd be weird because it's like it was joined, it was infused in the middle, meaning it couldn't, you know, go at the toilet. It's a weird thought. Hello, Onefootballers, and welcome back to another week of our European Power Rankings. This is where we take the best 10 players from around Europe based on their last 5 games and put them into some sort of list for you. Now, as always, there will be the winners and losers and a quick roundup of last week, so let's hop straight into it. So with last week's Power Rankings, of course, Lewandowski was in there as well as Lionel Messi in at number 8. Moving into the top 5, and Nicolas Pepe was sitting in at 4, with the runner-up Cristiano Ronaldo second only to Sergio Aguero. But with that said and done, let's move on to this week's where we have our winners and losers. Now, first off, don't go crazy, don't get mad at me, but the loser is Lionel Messi. Now, to be honest, in his last few weeks, he's had some quite good games, but hasn't been reaching the heights that he usually sets for himself. In fact, just scoring 1 goal in the last 4 games, and that was a penalty, isn't enough to get him into the top 10. He was at number 8 last week, and I did mention that if he doesn't turn his form around, he may be out soon, and well, the week has finally come. He did also miss a penalty, so that basically cancels out the one he scores. But moving on to the winners this week, and we have 2. First off, there's Leroy Sané. He went back to his former club in Schalke and managed to get an equaliser before City went on to win it, so that's pretty good. And the other winner, he's not in the top 10 this week, but he has had a blinding few games, is Jan Oblak. He's kept 2 back-to-back clean sheets for Atletico Madrid and has been brilliant. And if he keeps up this kind of form, then he may just break into the top 10 in weeks to come. And talking of top 10, let's get into it straight away with our number 10, and it's Dusan Tadic. Ajax had a pretty good game against Real Madrid last week and were actually quite unlucky to lose. At the weekend, they got back to winning ways with a fantastic 5-0 victory, during which Tadic scored 2. It's this kind of form that he and his teammates will be hoping to take into the second leg against Real Madrid, where anything can happen because the score's only really 2-1. I say anything can happen unless VAR is used during the game, which inevitably will end up going in Real Madrid's favour. But into number 9, and it's someone who, to be honest, I didn't really expect to play much this season, never mind feature in our power rankings. It's Liverpool's defender Joel Matip. Now, because of suspensions to Virgil van Dijk and injuries to Dejan Lovren and Joe Gomez, Matip has got his chance and has really taken it. In the last few weeks, he has put in some fantastic displays, and despite Liverpool drawing twice, the last 2 games they've got 2 fantastic clean sheets. The 3-0 win against Bournemouth and the 0-0 against Bayern Munich has shown that Matip is really ready for this level and is a fantastic addition to their squad. My question is, will he be able to keep his space once everyone is back? When Virgil van Dijk returns from suspension, I've no doubt he'll be in the squad. He's their best defender. But when it comes to Lovren and Gomez coming back from injury, will Matip be able to hang on to his spot in the starting 11? Well, if it's any consolation, he's in the power rankings this week in at number 9. Into number 8, and you guys are bugging me, Matt, why are there never any goalkeepers in this list? Well, I've explained it before, but for those of you who haven't seen, basically the goalkeepers are in a bit of a catch-22. When their team is doing badly and they concede a load of goals, well, obviously their rating's not that great. When their team is doing well and they don't concede any goals, they also, more often than not, don't really have much to do. For example, this week, Alisson in the Liverpool net had literally nothing to do. Bayern Munich was so poor in attack that the Liverpool goalkeeper didn't have any saves to make. This means that he also didn't get a chance to up his rating. He did keep a clean sheet, but he didn't do anything. So it's very difficult for goalkeepers and defenders, for that matter, to get into the top 10 just based off defensive displays. Matip is obviously an exception, and so is number 8, Marc-Andre ter Stegen. He's been brilliant for Barcelona. They haven't conceded a goal since Lucas Vazquez scored 4 games ago. In the 3 games since, he's kept clean sheets for Barcelona, and against Bilbao and especially Lyon, he kept his team in the game with a string of excellent saves. Moving on to number 7, and it's last week's number 3, who's dropped a few places, but he still did put in a pretty good performance. On Monday night, Roma beat Bologna 2-1, and Nicola Zaniolo had a great game. If you add this to the fact he scored both goals against Porto in the Champions League, scored against AC Milan, and had a good game against Chievo in their 3-0 victory a few games ago, well, Zaniolo sits comfortably inside the top 10 at number 7. Someone else who's sitting inside the top 10 due to their previous performances and not necessarily the last few games is Nicolas Pepe. I always talk about him on this channel, and I think he's going to go on to be a fantastic player. He is on fire this season. However, in the last few games, their 0-0 draw against Montpellier and their 2-0 win before that, he hasn't got any goal scoring points, which is scoring or assisting. Now, that's not to say that this is all the power rankings are based off. However, they do go a long way to helping an attacker gain a higher rating. With that, Pepe's last 5 games have still brought him 3 goals, so he sits inside the top 10. But let's move into the top 5, where we have some big names and some fantastic goal scorers, starting off with Kylian Mbappé. Now, if it wasn't enough for him to grab the second in PSG's win over United last week, he then went and scored the winner against Saint Etienne on Sunday, and last night managed to bag the 5th in a convincing victory over Montpellier 5-1. As for Mbappé, well, that's obviously 3 goals in the last 3 games, and he keeps on climbing up the table. If he can keep this kind of ridiculous form up, I've no doubt he'll be challenging the top 3 in some weeks to come. Into number 4 now, and things are starting to hotting up, and it's Paul Pogba, last week's loser of the week. Now, I know what you're thinking, Matt, how can someone who was a loser last week really get back into the top 10? Well, it's because it's his overall form in the last 5 games. That stupid and petulant red card against PSG last week counts for nothing because he put in a ridiculously good performance against Chelsea in the FA Cup on Monday night. He got an assist and a goal, which means he now has 4 goals and 3 assists in his last 5 games for Manchester United. That is the kind of form that sees you enter the top 10, so well done to Pogba. Into number 3, and it's Cristiano Ronaldo, last week's runner-up, who, much like Paul Pogba, despite having a blip in his last 5 games, I'm talking about the defeat to Atletico in the Champions League, he doesn't actually fall short of the top 10. Now, Ronaldo actually had a pretty good game against Atletico despite not scoring or assisting. That's because his team didn't score. He had a free kick which he almost scored and was constantly taking on defenders with some excellent dribbles. However, of course I know you're going to say, Matt, that's not enough to get into the top 10. Well, in the last few games, he's been on absolute fire, scoring 4 goals, getting 3 assists, including another goal and assist on Sunday in Juventus' 3-0 win against Frosinone. So before all of you Messi fanboys go absolutely crazy and say, Matt, you hate Messi, you love Ronaldo, you're a Ronaldo fanboy, this and that, this is how the power rankings work. I take all of their stats and ratings, put them into a system which has an algorithm to determine where they place in the top 10 list. I'm not just choosing them because I like one player or don't like another. This is just the way that stats and numbers work. If you really got a problem with it, I don't know, take it up with some sort of math society. Anyway, Messi hasn't been doing well in the last few games, so he's out the top 10. Ronaldo has, so he's in. But if you really still think that Messi deserves a place, let me know in the comments section your reasons. But let's move into the top 2, where on one side we have a Manchester City player, and on the other side we have a Manchester City player. Such is their fantastic form at the moment, both Sergio Aguero, last week's number 1, and Raheem Sterling are vying for top spot. In the case of Sterling, where he's got 3 goals in his last 3 games for Manchester City, and was again brilliant last night, popping up with the winner against Schalke. For Sergio Aguero, well, he's still got those 2 hat-tricks in the last 5 games, and opened the scoring last night in Germany. So which one will it be? Of course, it's Sergio Aguero. Last week's number 1 holds on to top spot because of all the goals he scored in recent games. That's not to say that Raheem Sterling isn't also deserving of a place high up on this list. Of course, he's runner-up and in some fantastic form. Both of them epitomise Guardiola's play. They're quick, they've got great energy, and they put the ball in the back of the net when need be. They are efficient footballers in the attacking third. That pretty much sums up Pep Guardiola's style. So there you have it, this week's top 10. Let me know in the comment section your thoughts on who should have been in there, who shouldn't have been in there, and whether or not I got the top 3 spot on. Of course, you can also hit the like button and click here to check out all of the other videos that we've got going on Onefootball. But until next week, next Thursday's Power Rankings, I will see you guys later.